Thanksgiving night in rainy Indianapolis, Indiana, and Conseco Fieldhouse is sold out for their Pacers with the best record in the NBA, taking on the resurgent New York Knicks, riding a 3-game winning streak and playing their best basketball of the season. It's the first game of our exclusive NBA doubleheader on TNT. With Hall of Fame coach John Thompson and NBA legend Steve Kerr.
Did you say legend?
How do you like that on Thanksgiving?
I'll take it.
That's my pumpkin pie your way. And Cheryl Miller, Kevin Harlan with you, and from all of us to all of you, a very happy Thanksgiving Eve. Here are tonight's starting lineups, sponsored by McDonald's. The Knicks with Shandon Anderson, Kurt Thomas, Dikembe Mutombo, and a backcourt of Howard Eisley and Allen Houston, who is back and played great last night in the Knick win over the Timberwolves in Minneapolis. Pacers with Ron Artest, Jermaine O'Neal, and Jeff Foster. 33-year-old Kenny Anderson at the point, and the great Reggie Miller at the 2 guard. Well, John, the New York Knicks have been playing some very good basketball of late. What's your read on New York?
Well, the biggest read is the fact that they've had to recover from adversity, and that adversity being McDyess, Van Horn, Houston, all being out. Dikembe Mutombo has stepped up for him in the last game, and that's a great sign for Don Chaney.
Van Horn will not play tonight. It'll be his 6th consecutive game missing action. And as we swing it over to Indiana, Steve, they've won 6 consecutive games. They're 12-2, and how are they doing it?
Well, they're doing it with defense. I mean, this is really a team with a brand new identity. A year ago under Isaiah Thomas, they were more of an offensive-minded club. They like to push the ball. Rick Carlisle has taken more of a defensive approach. They're leading the league right now, Kevin, in points allowed per game at 81. So that's the main reason they've got the best record in the league right now.
And if I'm not mistaken, while Carlisle was at Detroit, they led in defense last year with the Pistons.
That's kind of his forte.
So here we go. Great to have you with us tonight. Kenny Anderson working on Eisley, and Reggie Miller, who had 31 points and a foul called right there on Allen Houston. Reggie Miller had 31 points the last time these two teams met a little less than 2 weeks ago.
Well, and that's a terrible foul because you got your best player getting in foul trouble trying to top theirs. When you look at Houston right now, he goes over, comes in a little late and hits Reggie Miller. It's not as bad that Reggie Miller is on the foul line as it is the fact that Houston has picked up an early foul.
Our officials tonight, Jimmy Clark, Ron Elysiak, and Anthony Jordan.
Coach, did he get fouled on the shot? I mean, it looked like he just sort of threw his body into him, but it's Reggie, I guess, huh?
He got fouled on the acting.
Yeah.
And he's a good actor, isn't he?
He is the best.
You'll take a look at the retro uniforms worn tonight by the Indiana Pacers. These are the uniforms they wore when they won the ABA championships in 1972 and 1973. And they joined the NBA in 1976 as Eisley kicks it back to Kurt Thomas, playing very well, guarded by Foster. Rebound by Dikembe Mutombo and pulled away by Foster, and here comes Indiana.
And that's what Indiana has to watch out for because Eisley penetrated to pull the defense in.
Reggie Miller from outside.
Boy, we've seen a lot of that. I think they ought to keep him. I like him.
I do too. The Atlanta Hawks used to have uniforms like this, or a version of them.
I'm not as fashion conscious as you two guys.
Oh, John, you're looking awful good. That's the first foul called on Jeff Foster. As the Knicks have brought in some new players. Look at this. Is it Slick Leonard was the coach of that team, am I right?
Look at the stripes on those pants, the wide collars.
That's Darnell Hillman there with in the front row on a knee, and there is Slick Leonard. Bobby Leonard, who coached that team, played here. And here comes Frank Williams, one of a couple new Knicks in the game. Frank Williams in the game along with Shandon Anderson. And here comes Kenny Anderson the other way with Ron Artest launching a 3. Foster with the offensive rebound, and Jermaine O'Neal.
Well, see, and that's the difficulty of Dikembe Mutombo guarding O'Neal. O'Neal is too flexible in terms of being able to move around. Dikembe has a hard time finding him. Most centers know where to find their men on the block, but O'Neal can go almost everywhere.
Frank Williams, the former 2-time Big Ten Player of the Year at Illinois. Nice move by O'Neal and down the lane, and that's the one thing he gives this offense.
Beautiful little slithering move down the lane, and that's what Coach Don Chaney talked about beforehand. Williams is one of the few guys on this roster who can really get into the lane. Isley and Ward are more walk it up, shooting point guards. This guy likes to attack.
Indiana has scored every trip tonight. This is their 7th. They've scored the previous 6 times. Jermaine O'Neal, and he looks red hot.
Oh, he looks hot, but there's not a lot of pressure on the
Sweats.
The very deep Pacers have not made a change in their lineup. Kenny Anderson flying down the baseline, and he comes up with his first 2 tonight.
Well, right now, the Knicks definitely have to become more aggressive defensively, and they also have to get their team defense coordinated a lot more. Don Chaney has said that they wanted to come out very aggressive, but they're anything but that.
Kurt Thomas, and a whistle blown inside. That is the 3rd turnover of the game for the New York Knicks. No turnovers so far for Indiana.
Well, usually when you have a team as aggressive as Indiana is, you try to answer it with aggressiveness, but the Knicks just haven't been able to get started yet with that aggressive,ness. That's what Coach Chaney wanted to happen.
Nice pass. Isley and Kurt Thomas never broke stride.
And this is what the Knicks want to do. They're becoming a more up-tempo team. They have to be because they don't have the inside scoring. So if they can run and get some easy transition hoops, they're going to be much better off.
Here's Kenny Anderson, the one-time high school basketball player of the year. Miller, and back inside is O'Neal. Look at him get back up after missing his first attempt.
Well, see, in that effort, Dikembe went after 2 different guys. That opposite guard has to drop back and give some help in that instance.
Here's Mutombo, the 4-time defensive player of the year in the NBA, and Jermaine O'Neal has the task of watching him, and O'Neal picks up his first personal foul tonight.
About Jermaine O'Neal's left hand. You know, it's become so proficient. He gets the ball in the lane, and it's tough to guard a guy who's using his opposite hand. As you know, Coach, being a big man, you get used to going up to try to block the right hand. All of a sudden, it switches over to the left, especially as athletic as he is.
Well, and that's where the problem comes in, as I've said with Dikembe, is O'Neal is so flexible. A post man usually knows where to find his man on the block. It's very hard for Dikembe Mutombo to guard an O'Neal because he's got to look for him and find him all the time.
Dikembe at the free throw line. Reggie Miller and Kenny Anderson have checked out. Anthony Johnson, Al Harrington have checked in for the Indiana Pacers. Anthony Johnson played in the New Jersey Nets team a season ago in the finals. And a great free agent acquisition outside Harrington, and Jermaine O'Neal with a rebound by Kurt Thomas.
And this is what the Knicks need to do. They need to get some stops, get out, and get down the floor and get some easy baskets because they set up players and not in the ball game now.
There's a foul, and Isley picks it up. He's in the backcourt with Frank Williams. They've got Anderson, Kurt Thomas, and Mutombo on that front line.
Hey, Frank.
First on Isley.
Weak side help has got to be there someplace. They're setting screens, they're penetrating and dropping. They've got to give definitely a better indication that they're helping defensively.
Ron Artest, who played at St. John's, and O'Neal again inside.
The thing that he does so well is that now you start to see that he's helping other people. He's erasing mistakes. He's coming over. He's just not thinking about himself.
Here's Anthony Johnson, Artest, and launching a 3. The Indiana Pacers have hit no threes tonight. 0 for 3 in that category. The Knicks have hit 1 3-point shot. And Anderson got it before and tries again. Gets his own miss and keeps it alive, but lost the ball. And here comes Al Harrington racing the other way from Elizabeth, New Jersey. Al Harrington to O'Neal inside. Rejected by Mutombo.
Well, in that instance, he was able to get him because he came to Dikembe and didn't dunk that time. And Dikembe is very good at coming from the
picks up the foul, and that is the second on the Indiana Pacer forward.
Well, here's an example. O'Neal's coming to the basket. Dikembe has plenty of time to get set. He didn't have to move his legs. Most of the other shots, O'Neal forced him to move his legs, which made it far more difficult for him to get set.
You do all year. Front the post, make it very difficult, and then you've got to be able to trust that weak side guy right here to come over and help, and you can see how much trouble it causes for the Knicks. To see another front down on the block here, the weak side guy comes and helps, leads to a difficult three-point attempt. So Indiana's defense has been solid as usual tonight.
And you can see what they've done in 7 of the last 8 games. John, it seems like it's not Rick Carlisle's objective to get the one lockdown guy. He wants that team defensive concept, and it has paid dividends, as we just saw by that graphic right there.
Well, definitely so. And the most frightening thing about Indiana Pacers is I don't feel that they have reached their potential. I think that Carlisle is still getting a feel for this team. These guys are playing well. They're winning. But I don't think that they've gotten to the point where everybody is on the right cylinder that they'll be on later in the year. That's the frightening thing, I think, Steve, about this team.
I agree, and you have to keep in mind these guys are still so young. I mean, Harrington and O'Neal, Jonathan Bender, who has not played yet with an injury, 3 guys who came straight out of high school, so they're still going to get better. You're right.
So we begin the second half with Allen Houston playing with 3 fouls. Nails his first shot, 2 of 6. He's played 8 minutes. He's got 4 points. The Knicks have never led. Pacers have led by as many as 13. Here comes Anderson out there with O'Neal, Foster, and Artest on the front line. Anderson in the backcourt with Reggie Miller, who's got it, and feeds to Jeff Foster, who goes inside to O'Neal, who's got a game-high 16 points. Good-looking rebound by Foster, who is very quick inside. It's out of bounds. The Knicks the other way as we go to Cheryl Miller.
And thanks a lot, Kevin. In the second half, Coach Cheney said the one thing that he was really concerned about was way too many turnovers. He wants to make sure that the guys are a little more stingy with the basketball. Also, he wants to keep the Pacers off the offensive glass. And the last, but more importantly, offensively, be aggressive, attack the basket, get to the rim, and hopefully a free throw line, guys.
All right, the New York Knicks. Thank you, Cheryl, out there with Mutombo, Kurt Thomas, and Shandon Anderson, Houston, and Isley. Nice knockaway inside. A couple shots. Thomas comes up with it, and New York the other way. The Knicks 40%. Anderson never taking stride. Sliding down the lane. They call him for the charge. And he is hit with another foul. That is his 3rd tonight.
Well, excellent defensive rotation. And again, the Pacers doing such a nice job of helping. I mean, that's not Jermaine O'Neal's man, but he knows he's got to cover the basket. Gets in position. Might not have been completely still. It might have gotten away with it a little bit, but
just a teeny bit.
Indiana shooting 42% from the field. Then Anderson with 2 points. And into O'Neal. And the Mutombo get a hand on it? I think he did. And a foul called on Dikembe Mutombo, and that is number 2 on him.
Well, Dikembe, they rubbed him off of a screen and got him moving laterally. And the last possession, when the Knicks went down on offense, Dikembe didn't come back. He was fussing with the official. Well, the official now is going to watch him when he comes back. Dikembe needs to just shut up and go ahead and play.
Coach, let me ask you this. Did he ever commit a foul at Georgetown? Because he still hasn't committed one in the NBA. I was just wondering, in college, maybe 1 or 2.
Well, to tell you the truth, when I was coaching him, I never did think he ever fouled anyone.
I'm sure.
Here is Jermaine O'Neal. He was kind of interesting this past offseason. While he was competing in the Tournament of the Americas in San Juan, they let go of Isaiah Thomas, and they bring in Rick Carlisle. And that was one of the reasons why he decided to re-sign with Indiana was because of Isaiah Thomas.
Well, difficult timing, but obviously the Pacers did what they felt like they had to do. I mean, they had to re-sign him. He's their franchise player, and if they had fired Isaiah beforehand, who knows, maybe he wouldn't be playing for the Pacers right now.
Carlisle said, John, that he called him and they talked for 30 minutes on the phone as Shandon Anderson launches, and this is a 3 and out of bounds off of, let's say who? New York. But he had to mend that fence because he had to let O'Neal that he was certainly in his corner.
Well, and the interesting thing that Carlisle said is that when he's talking, got O'Neal on the phone, O'Neal said his problem is not with Rick Carlisle as much as it was with the organization and how it was done. Carlisle felt relieved because he thought it was something that he was going to have difficulty with in dealing with O'Neal, but O'Neal told him no. He said, my concern is with the organization and not with you.
Mutombo taps in his 6th point. He's got 5 rebounds for the New York Knicks. Knicks come in 6-9. Indiana at 12-2, the best record in the NBA. They are in the midst of a 6-game overall winning streak as Anderson lost it inside, and it is off of New York and Indiana to inbound with 8 seconds on the shot clock.
The difficulty also in Mutombo, other than agility guarding O'Neal, is that O'Neal requires so much attention.
Nice shot by Reggie Miller, who has 9 points in 17 minutes.
Great execution on the out-of-bounds play, and that's something we've seen with Rick Carlisle's teams for years. And Reggie, who else would you rather have shooting that shot?
Kurt Thomas tapped in for a second consecutive time by Dikembe Mutombo.
Well, and he's getting it the way you need him to get it, too. He's not getting it from assisted baskets. He's following shots and using his length to tap it back in.
And remember, this is a very bad offensive rebounding team, so Dikembe can help in that regard.
And a foul as Anderson goes crashing to the floor. It's the third foul called on Dikembe Mutombo of the New York Knicks.
38 years old, but he can still kind of get up in the air. You see the lift. Beautiful follow-through.
That's the thing that's amazing about Reggie, though. When you talk about 38, his body's got to be in tremendously great shape, because most guys do a little tippy-toe jump shot when they get to be 38, but he's really getting up off the floor on that, and that's a lot of pounding on his body.
Shot clock at 4, our test picked up by Thomas. Rejected by Thomas, and a shot clock violation on the Indiana Pacers. A good defensive stand for the New York Knicks. Look at Don Chaney, given an extension in his contract. Knicks have never led, trailing now by 10. They trailed by as many as 13 points.
Well, and you can't blame Chaney, for the lack of fluidness in some instances with this team, because as we indicated all in the beginning, the pieces are there, but the pieces aren't pieces that you're able to put together fluidly on this team yet.
Jermaine O'Neal has a double-double, 18 points. He just collected his 10th rebound. Kenny Anderson, Jeff Foster, Jermaine O'Neal. Such a great explosion as he takes it inside. Mutombo wrestles down his 7th rebound tonight.
Because Dikembe didn't have to move a lot laterally, he was in a great position to get his lip and to at least bother that shot some. See, when they're doing this against a set defense, the Knicks most of the time go to Allen, and that's who they didn't have early in the game. He comes up with a foul or he comes up with a basket.
Kenny Anderson picks up his second foul for Coach Rick Carlisle, the one-time NBA Coach of the Year with the Pistons.
And this is what I was talking about Mutombo. He's closer to the basket, therefore he didn't have to move his feet as much. O'Neal got a great shot off, but Dikembe was able to challenge it. Even more so, after challenging it, he pursued the rebound rather than locking out as he was doing earlier in the game.
I haven't seen the finger wave yet tonight. One of my favorite plays in the NBA, he actually... finger wave. I do have to. But you remember they changed the rule a few years ago that he wasn't allowed to do it to the player. He had to turn to the crowd.
Right.
And Scottie Pippen one time when the Bulls went up had his shot blocked, and the ball ended up right at their feet. But Mutombo was busy looking at the crowd, doing his finger pointing, and Scottie picked up the ball and laid it in. A little embarrassing for big fella.
Kenny Anderson, at one time known for his scoring. Now he is a setup man here in Indiana, and he feels very comfortable in that role, delivering the ball and running the offense. O'Neal lasers in a pass to Foster in a thicket of Knicks and somehow gets it back. And Jermaine O'Neal converts with the game high 20 points and 10 rebounds.
But it somehow was a lack of reaction on the part of the Knicks. They were just frozen out and one man out hustling 4.
Looked like Kurt Thomas was trying to pin down Jeff Foster to create a 3-second violation. Refs didn't give him the call, though.
And a foul on the perimeter. And it's Kenny Anderson with his third.
Here comes the finger wave. Yep. See, now he used to do it right in the player's face, and then they started changing the rule. They said, you're not allowed to taunt, but you can do it to the crowd.
Houston for 3. And out of bounds. It will be Indiana's ball.
I tell you, it's not a more pleasant guy that you can coach than Dikembe Mutombo. At a time when you're depressed or the team is low, he can always break that lock on depression that you have.
Well, everybody I've ever spoken with says he's a wonderful teammate.
Indiana shooting 42%. Little hold there by Howard Isley, the ex-Timberwolf and San Antonio Spur. That is the second on Isley. Kid who grew up in Detroit and played for some magnificent high school teams at Southwestern High School, then went to Boston College and had a nice career there in the Big East. Kenny Anderson weaving his way down court. That's a vintage move from the Anderson of many years ago.
Is it the Southeast?
Right. And tap in. Nope. Mutombo.
Southeast Division, I think, will have 5 teams that right now are a combined 128
games below 500. They're all bad. They're all going to the same place.
Here's Jermaine O'Neal. If there is a bright spot in the Eastern Conference, it's kids like O'Neal. As we all know, things are cyclical, and soon the Eastern Conference will back up there again.
The East may surprise you this year.
They might.
Will be surprised.
Nice steal, good defense by. Look at the spacing of the Indiana Pacers. Artest from Anderson. Well, that's one thing that I think Rick Carlisle doesn't get enough credit for. This team is about as good a spacing team as there is in the league.
Well, Artest made one hell of a move that time. He did what you need to do against a shot blocker. He closed the space so that Dikembe couldn't jump, put him under the strings, and then went up. Artest does a lot of very small, smart things in a basketball game.
Here comes Reggie Miller with another turnover by the New York Knicks. 16 on the night, and the Pacers have turned it over 4 times.
Kevin, you talked about Rick Carlisle's offensive coaching abilities. Remember 3 years ago, this was a team that averaged about 110 points a game.
Right. But they didn't have Jermaine O'Neal in full flower like he is right now.
Boy, and is he in full flower.
Mutombo picks up his 4th foul for the New York Knicks.
And he's running on, shooting a running hook coming across the lane. That hook shot is gone the way of the Buffalo. Most people don't use a hook shot. Look at this save by Artest. I mean, he's just one of those guys, again, that does a lot of small things.
The Indiana Pacers have their biggest lead tonight of 19 points over the Knicks.
I love this game because the NBA is for lovers. Oh, cute.
Thing that this team has got to be able to do. They have so much depth that if they continue to win, everything is going to be fine. But a lot of guys are capable of putting in minutes who aren't getting a lot of serious minutes. And Rick was saying that the guys' attitudes have been just absolutely great about playing time. That always happens with winning, though.
Yes, yes. It's the chicken and the egg, right? Which one comes first?
Don't start losing, buddy.
Frank Williams in for the Knicks. Anthony Johnson has come in for Indiana. Look at that pass inside. Ron Artest now has 21 points.
Well, that's just a breakdown on the weak side of the Knicks defense. They made a great offensive move, but the weak side help is not there at all.
Here's Weatherspoon. Snaps it outside. Shandon Anderson. Rebound by Foster. The defense, too, of Indiana, terrific.
Well, and the offense is not moving as much, and particularly when Houston's in the game because they go to him so much. Therefore, the offensive players on the Knicks team should be able to get offensive rebounds, but they didn't have one guy on the offensive board that time.
And Shandon Anderson picks up his 5th personal foul. After this game, we will send you to Los Angeles in the Staples Center with Jason Kidd and the defending Eastern Conference champion New Jersey Nets against the Los Angeles Clippers. And hasn't Quentin Richardson been playing some outstanding basketball over the last 10 days?
Yeah, he's been awesome. And Corey Maggette, another guy out there, very talented.
Yes.
Hopefully Elton Brand will be back soon. They spent a lot of money on those 3, or at least the 2 of them, bringing back Maggette and Elton Brand.
About $140 million combined.
They're going to have to pull out the checkbook again for Quentin Richardson the way he's playing.
It's all about touches, man.
FGAs, right? That's what Danny used to say.
Yeah, it's all about the touches.
All about touches. There's Jermaine O'Neal. Look at Austin Crozier. What's he eating?
Turkey, probably.
You know, a couple nights ago, he helped host 550 men, women, and children from missions around downtown Indianapolis, handing out Thanksgiving dinner and also handing out blankets and hats and gloves. And very unselfish move by Austin Crozier as Jermaine O'Neal is shredding the New York interior defense with 25 points and 11 rebounds.
And a great pass by Ron Artest, too. I mean, this guy, the more and more I watch him play, one thing I'd love to see him do is just to give it the one smile. Everybody in the house gets a turkey and he smiles. But all the little things that he does are really not as conspicuous as it is when you watch him play.
About him, he said, look, when you have a guy like that has that fire in his belly, the last thing you want to do is try to harness that energy. He said, you got to give Ron Artest a lot of credit. He knew last year that he wasted some opportunities because of his attitude, and he said that he didn't want to change, but he knew that he had to make sure that he was being more responsible for his team, guys.
Well, and Cheryl's absolutely right, because you can't charge up a corpse, but you can tone down a guy who's active the way he is. You know, and anytime a guy is productive, you don't mind that a little bit. You got to have a little bit of toughness in it.
Oh, Phila Harrington back in the game, loops one up and home.
Well, the guy I think of when I think of Ron Artest is Dennis Rodman. You know, he had all kinds of trouble as well with technical fouls, but he was always able to give his best effort on the floor and be a good enough team guy to be a big factor.
Such great passion by Ron Artest. And Indiana, they've led by as many as 24. Indiana Pacers, who have held on to the ball and controlled it well tonight. The rotation to Fred Jones inside to Jermaine O'Neal, guarded by Thomas. And he still gets it to go. Jermaine O'Neal, a game-high 27 points, a game-high 11 rebounds. Pacers with 27 points, 11 rebounds. Ron Artest had 21. 12 points off the bench for Harrington, and the New York Knicks had 7 field goal droughts, totaling 27 minutes.
With him, and now it's
it.